So in today's Let's Talk Insects, we're going to be talking about the mealworms and the mealworm beetles. Their scientific name is
Tenebria monitor is how you pronounce it, I think. At least according to Google Translate. We're also going to be talking about the pupa, the beetle, and all of that fun stuff. Let's go ahead and start by talking about the mealworm. So, to put simply, to take care of these guys, all you're going to need is literally a container and some oats, and maybe some vegetables or table scraps or whatever you want to give these guys about once every 2 days, depending on how fast it dries out and mold. Of course, with carrots, you could wait like 3 to 4 days, depending on how much they eat. And that's what I do. I feed mine almost purely carrots. If you don't have oats to put these guys in, you can put them in dog food, cat food, and other dry stuff like it. These guys can of course be kept together, so don't be afraid to shove 500 of them into the same container. If you want to get these guys, you can buy them online, you can buy them at a pet store local to you. You can buy them from a lot of different places, and in my opinion, it really doesn't matter where you get them as long as you're happy with them. A lot of people will stay away from Petco's and PetSmarts though, because hey, they have a bunch of dead ones usually in their containers, which is definitely not wrong. Oftentimes when you buy them from Petco or PetSmart, a lot of them will be dead, especially if you get frozen ones. Also, if you buy them from a Petco or PetSmart, they could be sick, have diseases, and overall, it's just not the best idea. However, if you have a much better quality store in your area, you can always buy them from there. If you need to, you can always buy them from Petco or PetSmart, and of course, ideally, buy them online. I have a really good quality Petco in my area, so I actually got these guys from Petco. So remember, it's not horrible if you buy them from Petco, it's just ideal that you get the maximum amount of live ones, as they are a little overpriced. Now we're going to talk about the second stage in their life, the pupa. So these guys are turning into beetles, just like how you have butterflies and cocoons, or moths. That's exactly what they're doing. They're currently transforming into a beetle.
These guys usually take upwards of 2 to 3 weeks to turn fully into a beetle and be completely hard, plus another week to fully sexually mature, which aka equals breeding. You want to make sure you keep your mealworm pupa separate from your mealworms and your mealworm beetles, because if mealworm beetles or mealworm pupa get too desperate, they will eat the pupa, which is no good. Mealworm pupa are pretty much helpless. The only thing they can do to defend themselves is this little flicking motion that you see this one doing. All I'm doing is lightly squeezing his tail to get him to do this. I did not hurt him during the filming. In the wild, they would be underground, so they would have no need for any kind of defense. That's why the only thing they can do is flick slightly. The one that I'm currently holding with 2 fingers is a superworm pupa, and the one next to it is a regular mealworm pupa. You can really see the size difference. You can also see the legs and the antennae much better on the larger superworm pupa because A, it's larger, and B, they're much better formed and more distinct.
You can clearly see they're still there, but they're much smaller and much harder to distinguish from the rest of the body. If you look closely, you can see all the little spikes they have on their back. Back to the superworm pupa. Look at these massive spikes on its back. I mean, really, they're not that big, but I mean, would you want to get stabbed by one of those while it's freaking out? No.
Now, next thing is the beetles.
Basically, everything I said about the mealworms is going to be the exact same for these guys. Okay, back to the video. So yeah, these guys live communally, so you can keep 500 of them in the same container, just like the mealworms. They eat carrots and all kinds of stuff like that. And you can of course keep them in dog food, cat food, or oats. I personally use oats for all of mine, and in my opinion it's the easiest, but there's really no difference between all three options.
These little guys have little hooks for hands, which is how they walk around and grab onto stuff. They are very, very small, and if your concern is, oh, they're gonna hurt me, you have no reason to be concerned about these guys, because I mean, it doesn't hurt at all. These things are literally less than an inch in size, and their hooks are micro.
These guys can fly, so you gotta make sure you have a lid on whatever container you put them in. And as you can see, this guy's actually about to fly because his elytra's open. There's a little bit of a size difference in some beetles, which is nothing to be concerned about. Mealworm beetles are the definition of horrible flyers. They can't really fly in like good coordination. However, you know, if you're about to be eaten, I don't suppose it cares which direction you're going in, as long as you're going away from the thing that wants to eat you. When mealworm beetles first hatch, they are a much lighter color compared to their darker 2-day-old brothers. So this is what they first look like, a more white color. These bugs are extremely clumsy.
Okay, now we're moving on to superworm. So this is what a superworm larva looks like. They have quite the chompers on them, and I put him in this test tube just for filming, and in less than 5 minutes, he had already eaten all of that off the cork. So these guys are literally the exact same as far as care goes for the regular mealworms. All you need is oats, dog food, or cat food, and a container to put them in. And as you can see, they're definitely not the fastest creatures in the world. They're quite slow, they're not the brightest, and overall, it's a worm. Really, the only unique thing about these guys is the fact that you have to force them to pupate. They'll just keep eating and growing if you don't. So what you'll have to do is stick them into a small container like this
in order to force them to pupate, which isn't as bad as it sounds. You just take away all of their food and whatnot, and eventually they'll do like this guy, curl up into almost a C shape, pupate, and then you just remove the pupae and you stick them into a separate container. And then of course, in about a month, once they finish pupating, you'll have a full-grown beetle, which within 8 days can start breeding, and then you'll have a bunch of babies like this. I bred all of these mealworms from my original 3 beetles I pupated as a test. With the babies, you're going to want to keep them in a smaller container so they don't get lost and they can find their food. Moving to the superworm beetles. These beetles are really easy to breed, as all you're going to need is the exact same as the mealworm beetles, except for slightly larger because they're superworm beetles. You can see their claws really nicely in this clip. Okay, now listen to how loud they were. I actually quite enjoy these guys as pets, so even though I'm feeding their offspring to my ants and other little creatures, I do quite like the beetles, and they're definitely quite fun to keep. They're also quite cool to pull out from time to time because people don't like looking at a massive beetle with hooks for hands. Personally, I don't see how anyone could find them unadorable. I know this is kind of out of place in this video, but I just want to let y'all know the frogs are doing really well. They're really happy moving around, eating, and all of that fun stuff. And I even got this one, which I've named Fatty Fatty, to crawl on me. Of course, I would never want to stress these little guys out, so I put him back really quickly, and I didn't hold him unless he was perfectly willing to do so. And of course, he was. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, like and subscribe. Also, go check out my TikTok and Instagram for high quality footage and photos. See ya!